Hey, good morning. Happy Wednesday. It is a chilly morning here in Carmel, Indiana. And I woke up this morning to a very chilly house to discover that my husband had turned the heat way down last night. So it was very cold this morning when we got up. So I had to get downstairs and bump that up. Do any of you have the Nest thermostat? I think I'm going to put that in my house, hopefully to keep my husband from bumping it down to like cold dorm temperature in our house at night and get it to kick on automatically in the morning. But if you have the Nest thermostat in your home and you have thoughts on it, I would love to know what those are because I'm thinking about putting that in my home. I'm really tired of waking up so cold because my husband turns the heat down so much at night and he's a night owl, so he goes to bed after I do. So I can't, like he does it and then I'm already asleep and then I wake up with like icicles on my eyes. So I'm hoping that the Nest thermostat might help. But if you have that and you've got experiences and thoughts on it, I'd love to know what you think about it because I think I'm going to install that this week. But today I have something in my head and heart that's sort of been rattling around a little bit and I want to share it with you. And as always, would love your thoughts on it. I'm drinking my Energize this morning because when I finish chatting, I'm going to chat with my team a little bit and then I'm going to, you can't see it, but right here is the step. So I'm going to be back to Transform 20. And if you are not familiar with Transform 20, it's a new program by Shanti that's coming out in January. It's going to be amazing. So that's my workout. This morning, I just finished run one. I'm going back and doing it all again. So that's my fitness this morning. And I'm drinking my Energize so I can get ready to, because you need some Energize for these workouts. They might only be 20 minutes, but they're legit. But I was thinking about this concept. And it came in my head because I'm working with a group of some really awesome coaches who are working hard to hit a goal by next week. And I've been working with them for the past 4.5 weeks or so. And the phrase that I have seen come up a lot, and not just with them, but over years of being a Beachbody coach, but also just sort of being in the female entrepreneur space. The phrase I hear women say a lot is, I have to, or I don't have support at home. I want to prove it that this works. And then this can be anything, because I'm a Team Beachbody coach, that's the language that I use. So that's the experience to which I speak, that women are saying, I want to prove to my spouse or prove to my family that this business works. But this business really could be anything that you're doing or any pursuit of any goal in your life. So if you're not a coach, you can just switch out that language. I use coaching language because that's my experience. That's the experience to which I speak. And I hear that phrase a lot. They don't support me. And I'll speak to that in a minute. And I want to prove it to them that this works. And for some reason, I've either been hearing that a lot or I've been thinking about that a lot, that phrase and that concept. And I want to speak to that this morning in a couple ways. So when someone says to me, and I'm going to say that someone is a female because 99% of the folks that I work with in my Beachbody business are women. So again, that's my experience. That's what informs my experiences and my knowledge. So that's how I'm going to speak. But you can interchange anything that you need to interchange because I think it's applicable across the board. But when a coach says to me, no one supports me at home, or no one believes I can do this, so I want to prove it that I can do this. And usually the do this means make this business work, and whatever that looks like to them. There's a couple pieces that we need to unpack in there. The first being, what is the do this? So whatever business you're in, whatever goal you might have, let's say it's even a goal to run a marathon or be in a CrossFit game or whatever it might be, pay for a vacation, whatever it might be. You need to be very clear on what this is, because I think that's part of the issue, especially when a coach says to me, I want to prove to my family I can do this. Well, what does do this mean? Does do this mean pay your mortgage? Does do this mean complete a marathon in 2 hours. What is the this? So first, when you find yourself saying that, I encourage you to take a good hard look at what the this is and write that down. What does this look like to you in your life? Second, what I also hear from people is, well, they don't support me. They don't believe I can do this, whatever the this is. They don't believe in me. So I want to prove to them that I can. Once you've defined what your this is, whatever that might be, whatever space you're in, whatever goal that you have, wherever you are in your life, once you've sort of defined what that this is, maybe it's losing weight, maybe it's, again, running a marathon, maybe it's building business, whatever it might be. Once you've defined what that is, the most important next step is to define what you think, just you, not before you have any conversations about it, whatever, but just you, what you think support looks like. Because I've found in 10 years of being a Beachbody coach, and again, I'm using that experience because that's what I am, so I'm using that language to speak, but it can be anything. But I have found in 10 years as being a coach that generally what one person feels is support is not the same as what another person feels is support. And I hear it from the wives so much, again, because I work with women all the time. My husband doesn't support me. My spouse doesn't support me. And they've never taken the time to sit down and think about, write out, and communicate what support or belief actually looks and feels like to them. They use this blanket phrase, my husband doesn't support me, my spouse doesn't support me, my family doesn't support me, but they've never taken the time to write out what that looks like in your life. What does that really mean? Support. And if you were going to write out a description and a definition of what that means and how that looks and how that's operating in your life, have you ever taken the time to write that down? And then once you've written that down, have you taken the time to actually communicate that to the people with whom you're in this conversation? I'm going to tell you that over 10 years as a Beachbody coach, and hundreds of conversations with coaches who say those exact words to me, my husband, wife, whatever, doesn't support me, 100% of the time, 100%, and that's a high percentage, 100% of the time, the person saying that has never defined what support looks like to them and or communicated it to their family. Not one time has that ever happened. When I've said to them, what does support look like in your home or in your ideal life? What does that look like? And have you talked about that? 0 times have they ever had that thought process in writing it down, and 0 times have they ever had that conversation. So it's sort of these 3 pieces to this puzzle when someone says, I want to prove it, because first of all, you've got to define what the this is. And again, as a Team Beachbody coach, I'm talking in those terms, but it could be anything. What is your this? Is it running a marathon? Is it going back to school for your master's degree? Is it getting a different job? Is it whatever your this is, have you, number 1, defined what this is and what that looks like in your life? And then when you say, I want to prove it because they don't support me, have you sat down and written out on paper what support and belief looks and feels like in your life? And then have you had a conversation with your significant other about that? Because newsflash, they can't read your mind. And, you know, people have different love languages. If you've read that, they have different love languages. And, you know, my love language is gift giving. I am a gift giver. I am a horrifically bad gift receiver, but I am a gift giver. That is how it's just how I express my love, my affection, whatever it means. I like to give gifts. Doesn't even have to be anything that I buy. It could just be, you know, when my girls need something, I'm going to my closet. Oh, do you need to borrow these boots? Or, you know, whatever it is. I'm a gift giver. I'm not a good gift receiver. But my husband is a horrific gift giver. And even though I don't love receiving gifts all the time. It'd be nice every once in a while if your husband gave you a gift that he thought about. But that's not his love language. That's not what he does. He does acts of service. He's taking out the garbage and he's sweeping out the garage and he's doing those kinds of things. So if I'm looking at him through my lens of love language and judging him that, I'm going to have a really crappy marriage, aren't I? And it's the same token with support and belief. If I'm looking at him through the lens of what I think support and belief should look like, but I've never had that conversation with him, then how does he possibly know? How does he possibly know? Early in our marriage, I discovered, we've been married a long time, 20 plus years, I discovered he was not a very good gift giver. So I could either be frustrated with that or I could make it a little easier and just say, dude, I like to get flowers on my birthday. Okay, I like to get flowers on my birthday. He's never gonna know that unless I tell him. And why am I gonna hold that into my head and then be mad at him every year on my birthday because he didn't magically know that I like to get flowers on my birthday? Some other men or spouses or husbands or wives or whatever might automatically know that. That's not mine. So if I haven't shared that with him, how can he know? Same token, if I haven't shared with him what I think belief and support looks like, he can't possibly know. So those are the first two pieces. Define your this, define support, and have that conversation. But now let's tackle the other piece of it, the prove it piece of it. I'm gonna prove it to them that I can do this. And you gotta kind of go like that when you say it. That's all sort of part of it. That's a piece that, these two pieces bother me a lot, but this prove it piece is the part that has been kind of sitting in my heart lately. Because what I want you to think about is also, what does prove it mean to you? What does prove it mean? How does that look? Because what I think prove it is in translation is, I want approval and validation for what I'm doing. That's what I think prove it is actually saying. When someone says, I want to prove it to my da-da-da-da-da that this can da-da-da-da-da, I think what they're saying is, I want approval and validation. My friends, you don't need approval or validation for any goal or dream that you have. That is your goal and your dream, and you don't need anyone else's permission, approval, or validation to pursue it or have it in your life. And when you say you want to prove it to someone else, I think what you're saying is, I want approval and validation. And I'm going to also tell you 100%, all right, maybe 99.9%. If someone has said they don't really support your business or they don't support it in the way that you want them to, and you're saying, I want to prove it to them, what you're really saying is, I want their support, I want their approval, I want their validation. I can almost 100% guarantee you that at no point will that person ever say to you, you know what, you were right. This thing, it's worth it work. They probably won't, because that is a lot of human ego and a lot of human pride wrapped up in that. And they probably won't. So I think what women, and again, I'm speaking from my experience, that's what's informing how I speak. What women are saying when they say, I want to prove it to my family, my spouse, my da-da-da-da-da-da, they're saying, I want validation and approval. And I'm saying, you don't need validation and approval for your goals and your dreams. The only person who needs to validate and approve your goals and dreams is you. And if you're looking for outside validation and outside approval for those goals and those dreams, you will be looking your entire life. Because if I would have said years ago, when I first started as a Beachbody coach, if I would have said, well, I want to prove it to my husband that this works. Well, at what point have I proved it? 8 years ago when I paid our mortgage? Or 5 years ago when I took us on a Disney cruise? Or so if I would have said, well, I want to prove it that this works, and 8 years ago when I had made enough money to pay our mortgage. Was I supposed to stop there? Because I proved it. So now, okay, I've proved it to him, and so now he sees that this business works and he approves of it. So now I just stop? No, there's no good result. There's no end point when you're trying to prove it to someone else, because you will never get the validation and approval from someone else that you think you need to prove it to them. The only person that you need to prove that you can do something to, that you can create the life you want, that you can have the goals and dreams you want, is you. Because if you are constantly searching for approval and validation outside of you, it will never happen. It will never happen. Because chances are you also haven't defined what that even looks like, that prove it. It will never happen. Also 100% guarantee that when my husband gets up and goes to work every morning, he doesn't go, I'm going to work today. Do you approve of this? Is this okay? Oh, he goes to work. So this whole prove it sort of mentality, ladies, it's a female issue. It is a female issue. I've never heard those words come out of a male mouth. I've only heard them come out of a female mouth. Again, yes, I work mostly with females. I work mostly with women. So those are the experiences I'm using to inform my thoughts. But I've never heard that come out of a male mouth. I hear that from women. I want to do this in the business because they don't believe I can, and I want to prove it. And there are 3 pieces in that. You have to define what your this is. My this certainly was not just being able to pay our mortgage. My this is to get us to be debt free. And I am still on that mission. Well, if I would have said pay our mortgage and said, well, stop there, oh, I've proved it, we'd still be in debt. So when does the prove it happen? When have I proved it that this business works? When we're standing on the deck of the Disney cruise that my Beachbody business paid for? So now I've proved it, I should just stop working my business? No. You have to define what this is, and it has to be bigger than what you think it is most of the time. And this needs to be for you. You. Not wanting to do this for someone else. What is this for you that are your goals and dreams? Next, have you defined what support and belief actually feels and looks like in your life? And have you had that conversation with the significant people in your life? Or are you just floating along assuming they can read your mind? Because if you're floating along assuming they can read your mind, that's on you. That's on you. You have to define what that looks and feels like in your life, and then have that conversation with those people in your life so that you're on the same page. And they may have different definitions of what support and belief looks like, and you got to figure that out. That's called marriage or relationships or life. So you got to figure that out together, but nobody knows unless you have the conversation. And then you really have to understand that the term prove it probably translates to approval and validation. And you don't need that from someone else. You only need that from you. And if you are constantly searching for outside validation and outside approval, it will never happen. It will never, you'll be in a constant search mode. The person that you need to approve and validate your goals and your dreams is you. Just you. That's it. That takes some deeper digging into who you are and what you believe. And I guarantee you that the more action you take, the more confidence you will have. If you decide to let someone else and their approval and validation dictate your goals and dreams, my friends, that's on you. That's not on anybody else. That's on you. If you decide to let someone else have power over your goals and dreams and validate them and approve them, and that the only way you're going to go after your goals and dreams is if someone else validates and approves them, that's on you. That's not on anybody else. You will get more confident in the pursuit of your goals and dreams if you take action and if you surround yourself with people who support that. And those people might not be in your home right away, but that's okay. You don't need their support and approval. You do not need their support and approval to go after your goals and dreams. You need your support and approval. You need to prove it to you. Because when you're trying to prove something to yourself, I think the most beautiful part about that is there really is no end game, because you keep getting better. So you keep trying to prove to yourself how much more you can do. So there really becomes no end game in it. I think that's the coolest piece. But if you're trying to prove it to someone else, at some point, they might go, okay, all right, fine, it works. And then what do you just stop? No, I just stop? No, that's not what life is. Life should be a constant pursuit of your best self and proving to you, yourself, how much more you can do, how much better you can be. It's a constant evolution, getting a little bit better every single day, proving to yourself that you can get a little bit better every day. So I encourage you that if you are using that phrase, or if you have not had a conversation with your significant other about belief and support, or you haven't even defined what this is that you want to do in your life. And mamas, I'm talking to you, because for whatever reason, again, women have children and they think all their goals and dreams have to be packed away in a little box, and now everything centers on their children. Well, friends, what's that teaching your children? That's teaching them that their mom's goals and dreams are not important, that everything centers around them. And that makes for some really not very nice kids. So that's also on you. You need to unpack your goals and dreams, put them out in the open, share them with your family, teach your kids that it's okay for moms to have dreams too. And if you've got your this defined, have those conversations with your family so they understand what you want in life and what support and belief looks like to you. I always use this example, so if you've heard me say this before, you're going to hear it again. My husband is a football coach. That's all he's ever done. Played football in junior high, played football in high school, played football in college, went right into college coaching. So for more than 20 plus years, he has been a college football coach. This right now, I think it started at the end of October and goes all the way till November. There is a college football game on every single night. I don't know if you knew that, but we do at our house. It's sort of this, I don't know if it's ESPN or ESPNU or what they're doing, but I think it started Halloween night, runs all the way through Thanksgiving, that there is a football game every single night in some conference. So last night was Kent State and someone else playing, and tonight will be someone when he comes home from the office, because he doesn't get home till 9 or 10 o'clock at night, can watch football every night. And this is like Christmas for him. He's in heaven. He loves it so much. He's so passionate about football. He loves the game. He loves teaching young men about life through the game of football. That's his passion. I like football. I think there's nothing prettier than a well-thrown spiral down the field for a touchdown on an October day in the Midwest. I like it. I will not watch a game every single night from now through Thanksgiving. I don't have to. Support doesn't look like that in our house. I love him, so I love what he does, but I don't have to love football as much as he does. I don't have to watch every single game that's happening every night from now till the end of the year on ESPNU to support what he does. Does that make sense? I can support in a lot of ways, including showing up at the games, including asking him about his day, how was practice, do we have any injuries, having other conversations. I don't have to sit on the couch at 10 o'clock at night and watch the game between Kent State and whoever else on ESPNU to support him. It doesn't look like that in our house, and we've had that discussion. He doesn't have to know what Success Club looks like in my business to support me. Have you had the conversation with what support and belief looks like in your life with your significant other? If you haven't, then I never want to hear you say they don't support me again. Because if you haven't had that hard conversation, then you don't even know what support and belief looks like to you, and you haven't had that conversation with them. So you have to define this, you have to have the conversation, And then you really have to work on understanding that when you use the phrase prove it, what you are meaning is approval and validation. And the only approval and validation you need is from yourself. Does that take work? Yes, but the days are going to pass anyway. So you might as well be working on yourself to get better every single day. So those are my thoughts this morning. I hope that you find that valuable. If you find yourself saying, I'm going to prove it, I hope you stop yourself and say, nope, the only person I need to prove it to is me. And I've got goals and dreams, and I'm going to share them with my family. And I'm going to go out there and get after them, because life's too short and the time's going to pass. We might as well use every single day to get a little bit better, to model that for our children, to work on an amazing relationship with our significant other, to be our best self in some way. And putting our goals and dreams in a box and shutting them away and looking for outside approval is not living your best life. And you are not doing anyone in this world any favors by playing small. We need everyone right now. We need everyone on their A game. We need everyone bringing their individual lights and unique gifts and talents into this world, sharing them with the rest of us, and defining what that looks like in your life and sharing your unique gifts with the rest of us. Because we need you. We need everybody. Don't put them in a box. Don't wait on someone else's approval. Don't try to prove it to anyone else but yourself. All right, friends, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Happy Wednesday, November 7th. Let me know your thoughts if you like this topic, if you want to talk more on it, if you've got thoughts on it, what else I can share with you that might help you. Sometimes, I just come up with the stuff. I'm taking a shower and I'm like, I gotta go talk about this. So if you've got some ideas that you would love to hear me talk about, I would love to know what those are. Send me a direct message and let me know. Have an amazing Wednesday. Talk to you later.